18 years ago, Jeremy Wanamaker bootstrapped his own business in cybersecurity and IT. His company is called Complete. Today, he receives 20 emails a day from investors trying to buy his company. In this podcast, we're going to unpack how he did it. We first dive into what his mindset was like when he first started his business and how he found his first customers. He then shares how he's using AI to grow his business and how he scaled it from 0 to over 200 employees. Jeremy has orchestrated Complete to becoming a very successful business. But what you didn't know was this wasn't his first attempt, which you're about to hear all about in the following discussion. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me. For the first segment, I'd love to talk about the psychology behind starting a business. So now you mentioned earlier that you started a couple businesses and kind of like got your feet wet with a couple things, and then you ended up starting Complete, and you've been doing that for 18 years now. So my problem, or I guess the problem I want to present is I want to start a business, but I don't know where to start. How do I make the transition from my 9 to 5 to a business owner?
Well, first of all, Heath, great to be here. Thank you for inviting me on the podcast. Excited to be here. So, I can't, it's hard to speak in generalities. I can tell you how
Absolutely.
I did it.
Yes, that's what I'd love.
I think the most important thing for me was finding product market fit. Did I have a service that I could offer that people were willing to pay me for? Mm-hmm. And so the way I went about that, when I started my business, leading up to that, I was in a corporate job. And I called a few people in my network and said, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Could you use these services and would you be willing to pay for them? And I actually had a few people commit prior to me resigning from my corporate job.
So you had some customers lined up already.
Had them lined up, and I knew that with those customers, I could cover my expenses, my living expenses, and sort of get some runway to get this thing off the ground.
Mm. So what exactly is product market fit?
Yeah, it's having something to offer the marketplace that people are willing to pay for, right? Okay. So you could design something, the world's greatest widget, but if nobody's willing to buy it, your business is going to fail.
Yeah.
Right?
What were your previous ventures before starting Complete?
Oh. Well, I tried to get into the t-shirt business.
Okay.
That was a really hard business for me to get into. Never really made a go of it. Mm-hmm. I tried doing eBay. That was not for me. Too much shipping and handling. Like there was a huge amount of administrative overhead and handling material, shipping it out, dealing with returns. It was too much of a hassle. I couldn't see a way to scale that business. Yeah. So it didn't work out for me.
Understood. Gotcha. So then with Complete though, you had like an idea that you thought, hey, this might be able to sell. I might be able to find customers with this.
Yeah.
Kind of what was that mind shift like of going from like a t-shirt business? Like why did you choose a cybersecurity route?
Well, I have a background in technology. My undergraduate degree was in computer engineering, and I knew IT.
Love that, yeah.
So, really, initially, all I was doing in my business was selling my time for money. I was consulting, right? Yeah. And so I was like, if I do this for you, I'll spend this much time per week. This is my hourly rate. Are you willing to pay for me? People that hired me knew my level of expertise, knew what I could bring. Mm-hmm. They were willing to pay it. It was a much lower hourly rate back then because I was just trying to get my business off the ground. That was it. I had a service to offer. People were willing to pay for it. That allowed me to start my business. But from there to where I am today, we went through a couple of iterations in the business model to where now I have a business where it's not just time for money. It's actually an entire service offering that other people are delivering, I'm overseeing, and it's scalable.
So you're telling me that today's business model was not the original business model. You had a couple pivots along the way.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. How did you handle like stress and doubt when you were first getting started?
Yeah, well, when I was starting the business, I was single and I had no kids, so my expenses were very low.
You could sleep on a couch easy there.
I was renting an apartment. Yeah. I was 28 years old. It was I would say a low risk play for me. So what I did is I just sort of looked ahead into the future and realized what's the worst case scenario. If I do this for 2 years, it doesn't work out, I can go back into the corporate world. I'll still be young. I might be in a little bit of debt, but I can. It's not insurmountable. I could rebound, and get back on my feet. So that was sort of the story that I was telling myself.
Yeah. And I like that as when you're in your younger years, you're not at your most like profitable years, so it's not as risky per se. You know?
Right.
Whereas if you're like been in the industry for 30 years or something, and then you make the jump and you're losing out on a larger pay cut, I should say, later on.
If I'm almost 20 years into this business now. If I were to do it now, I would take a much different approach. So it's I think it's different depending on the stage of life that you're in.
What are a few things every entrepreneur needs? So if you're speaking to a young professional and he's thinking about starting a business, can you tell by talking to him whether or not he'll be successful?
Oh man, I can make a determination. I think that there's probably a couple of red flags that would say that you're not going to be successful. Yeah, you got to have a lot of grit and determination, right? Like there's a lot of days where you're I remember early in the business, just sitting there being like, I'm not sure if this is going to work out, right? Like I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I can deal with this. And it's just going in day after day, doing the work, building on what you've already built, and being willing to stick with it. That's for me was the biggest thing, because there's a lot of doubts. There's a lot of early failures. There's mistakes that you make. There's money that you spend poorly. Mishires, all of these things that the business owner goes through. The other thing is, no matter what level you get to, there's always a sense of imposter syndrome. I think for many people,
I've heard that from multiple of our guests. Yeah.
Do I actually belong here? Am I qualified to do what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And you can have these doubts. But the key is you just got to push through it and have that level of determination and grit. And
you push through it. Now, 18 years later, you're still leading your business.
Yeah. It's been good.
Fantastic right there. So we talked about how you decided to go through the tech route, but cybersecurity specifically, why not IT related or something like that?
Yeah. So, my business, we do IT services. Cybersecurity is one of those services. I think cybersecurity is a natural outgrowth of IT, because IT service providers are being asked by their customers to provide cybersecurity. We have to do it. The threat landscape has gotten, much bigger. There's a lot. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more threat actors out there. A lot more people trying to steal your money, and they're not just after the big guys anymore. They're after every business. So every business needs to look out for its tech, make sure that it's properly protected. And so just out of natural demand in the marketplace, we've had to expand into cybersecurity.
With your first customers, how are those customers different than today's customers?
Yeah, well, I think the first customers, as a business owner, this is true for me, a lot of other business owners that I've talked to have said this, you take on anybody initially because you just need the money, right? You need revenue in the door. Yeah. So you'll take any customers. Now we can be much more selective, and we know what our ideal customer profile looks like. And so if we come across a prospect and it's just the early conversations are not going well, it's like, this is not a good fit for us. Why don't you go check out this other firm? They might be a better fit for you.
So you have the luxury of referring them elsewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, but at first it's just
you take anything.
Anything you can do. However, I've heard it's you're a consultant for them. You're solving every problem. You're working with them all the time, giving them all your attention almost, and it's very different than the later customers, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, and I think you've got to be willing. If you're never willing to go through that transformation, what you'll find is you have some subset of customers that's using up all of your time, and they probably don't make up a big percentage of your revenue, and so you just never be able to scale because you're putting all this time into these customers that aren't good fits for you, and you can't you're not able to put your attention on more profitable customers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.